Welcome to Students of Life, where healing ain't cute, but it's necessary.
Where growth gets uncomfortable, but staying stuck isn't an option.
We're not here to preach. We're here to process out loud in real time.
No titles, no masks, just truth, transformation, and a whole lot of accountability.
I'm Erica.
I'm Courtney, and we're all just students of life.
Class is in session. Are you tired of just consuming content and not actually changing? Then it's time to download our free ebook, 3 Principles of Strategic Living. It's not motivation, it's strategy. This short, powerful guide shows you how to take control of your time, your goals, and your growth by treating your life like a business. No fluff, just a framework that works. And when you're ready to go further, join our Students of Life Inner Circle. It's our private Facebook community for people who don't just want to grow, they want to execute. You'll get early access to episodes, exclusive Q&As, and real conversations with people leveling up in every area of life. Hit the link in the show notes or visit studentsoflifepodcast.com to grab your free ebook and join the Inner Circle today. Let's get strategic.
Welcome to the Students of Life podcast, and I am your host, Courtney, and again, with me, my lovely wife, Erica.
Hey.
How you doing, babe?
I'm good.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, it was a story that, of course, it was on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure that it was true. And I don't know if you've seen about the woman who worked at Burger King and got fired.
Yes, after working a 12-hour shift by herself.
Yeah, by
running
herself.
the whole store by herself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was insane.
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Some news outlet did an interview with her. I read it, but she pretty much said that happens to her often. Like when you read the article, happens to her often. And she told some people, you didn't pay me enough money anyway to miss time with my children. She said, you don't provide daycare. You didn't try to help. So, I mean, she didn't really give a damn about losing that job.
But they fired her because she came in late one day.
Yeah, one day.
One day, they fired her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they did that because it was too much heat on them because of one woman working the shift, though?
So nobody knew. It didn't come out until after she got fired. So, no, I don't think it was that.
Well, I thought it happened before because she was recorded. It was somebody who was recording her who did it, and then they loaded it up. So it was a lot of attention that happened before. And then the firing happened after that. Either
way it goes, they're screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed.
Yeah, and somewhere along the lines, they raised $65,000 for her.
So the last time I saw it was like $74,000, and now she's a full-time content creator on social media.
Yeah.
And she says she gets to take her kids to school and pick them up.
Yeah, sometimes jobs just ain't shit.
A lot of time jobs just ain't. I will preface that by saying, my job is pretty good.
Yeah.
But most are terrible. They don't care about people.
No, they don't.
They don't care about what happens to you or your outcome.
No, they don't. They don't care about your peace.
At all.
I swear
peace.
They don't.
What is that?
No, they don't care about your peace.
What is that?
We don't know, but that's a big part of what today's episode is about, ain't it?
It is.
Yeah. So let us know. What are we talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about peace and how it's not, excuse me, y'all, how it isn't just the absence of chaos. It's something you have to build, fight for, and protect, even when no one sees a storm coming.
That is, overall, it's a very difficult thing to do.
Peace?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
I think what's funny is, and what people don't realize is, peace is never peaceful.
It's not, but I know we don't look at it like that. We get caught up in our day-to-day life, and I think we may have a false sense of what peace actually is. That's what I believe.
Why?
Because, like, say, for instance, we only look at peace as this easygoing thing. Like, peace and quiet. You know what I'm saying? It's these myths that we kind of live by that we misconstrue what it really means to obtain it. And more so, I think that it's not what I think. We lose the idea of what it means because we forget the history of what this actually means. We don't realize the wars that people actually went through just to get this peace that we have even today sometimes.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the actual literal definition of peace is there's no war. So, like, the actual definition of peace is you have peace when there is no war.
Yeah.
There's no other way to have it. So you got to go through some shit to get it.
You do. But it's even like, I read a lot of books, and
no, not you.
But one of these things that comes to mind is like the internal, we're always having like these internal or external battles in some way. Mm-hmm. And one of the most critical ones that we always deal with is the internal battle. It's the internal fight. And Marcus Aurelius, and it was rare. This is rare, for an emperor to reign as long as he did. He reigned for about like 20-something years. Most emperors don't reign that long because their life expectancy is very low.
Very, very low.
But he was a very loved ruler. He really was. He was a loved emperor. But when he did the meditations, his biggest battle, but what he wrote or what he really emphasized was the battle within, which is where what Stoicism really was birthed from. It was birthed out of him. And I've been called Stoic a whole lot within my life.
I call you Stoic often.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Yeah, I mean, and it is, it's me when I look at the world on the outside. What we end up doing is we over-exaggerate too much. We put too much emphasis on the things that, not necessarily that we just can't resolve, but we all also put too much emphasis on our feelings and how we portray those, putting off on other things too in those moments. So we have too many emotions, too many feelings, and we put that off on everything else around us. And it makes it all fall in to a degree as well in that process. So how I look at it, Marcus Aurelius, what he did is he put a lot of emphasis on internal peace because it's a reflection on what you produce on the outside too.
I'll give you that because, for a long time I didn't know what the hell Stoicism was. I had to look it up. But when I looked it up, he is the person that always pops up first. Like when you type in like Stoic or what is Stoicism?
Yes.
The Meditations pops up. It's the very first thing you see. You have in the book, I've read through it a couple of times. And I think one thing that people often forget is that no one can be your peace. You can't outsource peace.
No, you can't.
It has to come from within.
That's something you have to work on.
Absolutely. And, and mind you, I will also say that in working on peace and leaning for peace, you have to be okay with losing shit.
That one is difficult.
It is, but it happens.
Yeah. I mean, that one is difficult. And I'm not saying because it can't be done, it's because we don't see it.
Well, and I think another thing that people don't take into account is you often hear people, especially on social media right now, everything is about boundaries and peace and creating my peace. And my peace is this and my peace is that. And if you can't be my peace, you need to be around me. When in all actuality, you're the hell in your peace. You are the reason why you have no peace, right? And I think people talk about it, and you and I laugh a lot, not gonna lie. Like a lot of these social media posts that we see, we laugh a whole lot because I don't think people quite understand what it takes to obtain the peace that they think they want, right? When I said you have to lose some shit, I mean you have to lose people. You have to lose sometimes your environment. Sometimes creating peace for yourself is leaving that job that makes you work 80 hours a week. And you can't sleep because you go to sleep and you wake up with that damn job on your mind and it's starting to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
You can't have peace in that. Peace comes from stillness. Being able to just breathe.
But we don't know how to do it. Well, say, for instance, I guess the question becomes, if the real war is not just the external one, but it's internal, what does the war on the inside actually look like then?
I think it's different for everybody.
You think so? You don't think that it's a formula?
You see the world in the formula. I don't.
I was just asking.
So I don't think, no, I don't. I don't think there's one set thing for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly think that, like, example, you and I have gone through our own personal hells to get the peace that we have now.
Yeah.
I don't see how they were similar at all.
Yeah, we went through our own, but say, for instance, like the similarities. This would be, like our own internal personal battles. It was this right here. It was accountability and responsibility. Those are the battles that we battle on the inside with ourselves sometimes.
I mean, well, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I think everybody battles accountability.
Right, accountability and responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the battle that we have on the inside with ourselves sometimes. That's the war. It's the greatest enemy that we'll ever face. But in Eastern philosophy, even like with anime, which is why I love it, because it's,
anime is very dope.
It's dope, but they have a lot of Eastern philosophies within it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and normally when you see it, they're always fighting themselves. These characters eventually are always fighting themselves, especially like those early animes, because it was an example of we are our greatest enemy.
I invite people to watch any Dragon Ball Z episode and pay attention to Vegeta. Or for real, like watching Naruto. Sasuke is a big one.
Yeah.
I fuck with Sasuke too.
Yeah.
But those two characters, they embody exactly what you're talking about though.
But at some point, like I think Naruto for sure, I can't remember which episode, but he did fight himself.
There are so many episodes of Naruto. It's hard to. I don't know.
He did fight himself. But even like Goku fought Goku Black in Dragon Ball Super. You know what I'm saying? It was always that duality.
See, I ain't that deep in Dragon Ball trenches.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But you are your greatest enemy. So
you always are.
You're your greatest enemy, and the war that we fight with ourselves to get that peace is us facing ourselves, our accountability, and our responsibilities, and the things that's at stake. And like I say, historically, these things have been going on for a long time, but we've forgotten.
Well, I think we've forgotten because it's been replaced with other shit. And this is just me being me. But I feel like the journey for peace has been replaced with boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I also feel that a lot of people don't set boundaries right.
Yeah. Or like this, we'll use a historical reference. This is like with MLK. And the reason why we're actually doing this episode is because we did a TikTok on this.
We did.
We did a TikTok on this, which has inspired this episode. But it's just like with MLK. Okay? MLK. Okay. It's like with Martin Luther King is that what ended up happening, he ended up realizing that he led his people to the slaughter. That's what he felt.
Yeah, nonviolence.
Yeah, nonviolence. You know what I'm saying? But it was the letter that he wrote while he was in jail to the people who supported him, which is what really triggered him. Because those people who were supposed to support him wanted him to stay quiet. They thought silence was going to solve the issue.
Yeah,
just stay silent.
Yeah, they did.
And we know, silence is not where peace is at.
What's funny about that? It's a little part that unless you study, like the civil rights era, which I love. Yeah. Because, I'm all about the let's break this shit and fix it. But when MLK got out of jail, he had a sit down with Malcolm X. And after that sit down, what's crazy is their views changed. Malcolm had always been, to paraphrase who Malcolm X was, right? He always been on the eye for an eye type shit. Like, what you do to me, I'm gonna do back to you.
Yeah.
What you give me, you deserve back. Martin was all, nonviolence. We can get to the promised land peacefully. That man was in jail, got out, sat down with Malcolm X, and his views became, we're never going to get here. ever going to get here being peaceful. You can't peacefully deal with your oppressors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's partially where that letter you're talking about came from. He realized that shit sitting in jail in Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, he sat in that jail cell and he had nothing but his thoughts. There was nobody around him.
Nobody.
It was him and his damn thoughts. And what's funny about that is Malcolm spent so much time fighting a war. Then Malcolm goes to Mecca, right? He touches the wall at Mecca. He prays or whatever. And he comes back and says, we've been led astray. He was like, you know, Islam, there were white women, there were white men. We were all brothers and sisters. There were blonde-haired, blue-eyed people next to me praying and praising Allah. So what's funny about those two is their views completely changed. And because their stances changed, it got both their asses killed.
Yes.
So there was no peace on either end. And the outcome to this day is still not peace for black folks.
Well, it's not peace, but there
There's
was
progress, but not peace. There's a difference.
Yeah, but things were put in place that, you know, that assisted in a way to, you know, bring some sort of balance. I'm not saying that it was ever a true balance. I'm not saying that.
No, that's why I said there's been progress, but not peace.
Right, correct.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think a part of that too is when you realize that, you know, your real fight happens, like I said, right, with, you brought up MLK. You know, he was still with just himself in the damn jail cell. There was no struggle in that moment. He had time to sit down and be still and to think shit through. And when he died, he was like, there's another way to get here. The way we've been doing it ain't working.
But, you know, and like moving kind of outside of that, you know, about this whole silence thing, because silence don't bring peace.
No.
You know, it don't bring peace, but it's misconstrued. And I personally experienced that one. Yeah. You know, I've experienced that one on my job. And that one was a difficult one to face because it was a scenario where it was 3 against 1. It was 3 against 1. You know, they wanted us to, you know, because we were stripped to our bare bones. And you know that. We were stripped to our bare bones. And they wanted to add more on the few people that were left, which was data entry. And we was getting like 35 to 40 jobs a day. And every job that needed to be entered to account for the inventory and everything that was used for the day had to be entered at the end of every day. That's what they wanted. 3 against 1. It was 3 people against me. And it was only me to fight for that. It was only me. You know, but by the end of it, you know, I fought for it, you know, to get the peace that we deserved. And it wasn't, you know, say for instance, the peace was not, you know, the fact that we couldn't do it or that we didn't want to do it. The real peace was fighting against a model that was unsustainable with the amount of people that we would have had to do every day.
Yeah,
but the battle was won.
Y'all had less than a skeleton crew, honestly.
Yeah, we did.
And it was crazy to see. But, you know, even in that, there was never a time where y'all failed to show up.
We didn't. But the battle, the fight for peace in that moment was about a model that was sustainable long term. Yeah. That can be maintained.
It had to be.
But this was the part that pissed me off. Previously, you know, in the beginning, I told them, hey, why don't we just, when they were requesting this, just outsource it to our India crew. It was like kind of like crickets, like, I don't know about that. I'm like, and so at the end, I was like, I did this. You requested it. I did it only because you asked. But we're not going to do it.
It's not sustainable.
I said it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. But they quickly learned that.
But you want to know what they did?
I assume they outsourced it to the Indian crew.
They trained them and let them do it. Mm-hmm. They did. But we got peace because we got alignment on that one. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it looks like sometimes.
So peace is alignment.
Definitely. Peace is alignment. That's what peace is. because it's just like at home, like with a husband and wife. You know what I'm saying? Say for instance, if they can't get along, whatever the issues may be, it's because they're out of alignment. Mm-hmm. And so what you're really fighting for is to be in alignment. Just like we was talking about Martin Luther King and what happened during the Civil Rights Movement. They call it Civil Rights Movement, but it was a Civil Rights War.
Oh, it was 100%.
It was a war.
But they can't say that we had two civil wars that close together.
Yeah, but it was a civil war right here.
It was fought differently, but it was.
Right, but that's what it was. It just looked different.
It was fought in the streets instead of on the battlefield.
And I know that, like you just saying that, hey, Black people still don't have restitution today. We still fighting to a degree. But what kind of, made it work, have, even though it was kind of an illusion. Don't get it twisted. Had this illusion aspect to it. It did. But when they put that, people died, faults, put legislation in place, that helped things kind of get in a line to a degree and kind of try to begin to even the playing fields just a little bit.
I'll give you that.
As much of as an illusion it still brought a little bit of peace.
I mean,
for those moments.
It was an illusion, but it was an illusion of peace, but progress was still made.
But it was made, right.
Progress was definitely made.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be where I am career-wise today, and neither would you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We wouldn't be able to have this podcast and speak freely like we do.
Yeah.
If progress wasn't made.
That is correct.
So there's a difference between progress and peace, but, speaking of, environments like at home, I think what people need to understand and hear is that if your mind's not at peace, no environment, no matter where you're at, home, work, wherever, will never feel safe.
Never. But sometimes you don't really know that, what is it like? Everybody don't want what you want. Everybody don't see peace the same, even though to me, peace is universal. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy that we all have our idea for it. Like say for instance, in politics, right? In politics, what ends up happening is peace is not the same for both sides.
No. But it's
you know what I'm
like
saying?
I told you yesterday, right? We had a quick convo about this, but yesterday I told you that peace is subjective.
Unfortunately.
It is, because what I deem as peace, you may not.
But that's the problem, though. That right there is the problem. Say, for instance, as a husband and wife, I find that very problematic because you can't expect everyone to want the truth. You can't expect everyone to want the truth. And the Matrix reference, some people just ain't ready to be unplugged.
You in the Matrix, I swear.
I'm just saying.
But it fits though,
It does.
And I think, that's where like the kinks and things come in, because you have people who are giving the illusion that they want to be unplugged. They think they want to be unplugged. But, a lot of people, how can I say this without sounding like a bitch? A lot of people think they want to be unplugged only because they want to follow what the person next to them is doing, not realizing that what the person next to you is doing is not going to bring you peace. Because as I said, it's subjective. So the journey that they're on for themselves, there's no blueprint for the shit.
But that becomes like we were just saying, like a husband and wife, because it's easy, you know what I'm saying? Because you're in the home together. It's hard to imagine people who living in a home together, but they have two different ideas of what peace is.
Fun fact, right? Let's bring it up, because I said this too, and I've said it to other people, and I'll say it to all of our listeners. The husband and wife thing, the two different ideals of peace is you got a husband who voted for this current administration, and you have a wife who voted for the one who technically won but didn't win, right?
Yeah.
Because she cared about her rights, but he cared more about his male freedoms. There is no alignment there.
No.
Because I know, like I've told people before, you weren't a fan originally of Kamala, but you voted for her because you have a wife, you have a daughter, you have nieces.
Yes.
That's what alignment looks like. That is what peace looks like. And peace comes also from allyship, and that's what you became the day you voted.
Mm-hmm. It is. But that's what peace is.
That is what peace is.
You know, so like
It's a common goal.
So say for instance within a home, even outside of our political alignments, you know what I'm saying? About what we're really aiming for, you know, what it means to treat each other right. How we talk to each other, how we speak to each other, how we listen to one another. You know, how we open the door for conversation, how we feel. You know, so things can be addressed.
You know, I agree with that, but you bringing that up makes me think about a conversation that we've had before too.
Which is what?
You know, where we've talked about on our podcast actually, but we've discussed before where people want alignment, but you can't have a basic ass conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want alignment, but you can't sit down like an adult and tell your husband or your wife how you feel about something. You want alignment, but you're in a fight to continue to be numb so that you ain't got to feel shit. How does that work?
Well, at the end of the day, it don't ever work really well, and it's one of the biggest issues that we face even today with relationships and wanting to get this peace that we talk about, is that you can never get peace if you are already misaligned from the get-go. And we have to address this too. Say for instance, if you can never get aligned with somebody, say for instance, if you always misalign, then that just means that you're not meant to be with these people.
So it sounds like to me, kind of what you're saying, to sum it up, is the truth feels like an attack when you've made peace with a lie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people find peace in lies.
Okay, like this. Historical. Socrates.
I love Socrates.
You know, this was a Socrates, you know, like, say, for instance, he was always attacking the morals and the values of the people during that time. He was always doing it.
He wasn't got his ass killed.
Right. He was always doing that. And he did it so much where they put him on the, ready for execution. Mm-hmm. And they killed him because they couldn't face the truth of what he was speaking. Yes. He spoke it, but they couldn't deal with it.
Yes. That happens every day in real life.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
That happens in our life.
You know, historically, those who spoke truth were called heretics.
Yes.
You know, those people who spoke truth, they were the outliers.
Yeah.
And they were the people that society didn't want to accept, only to find out later that they were telling the freaking truth. And now it's too late because all your shits fell apart.
But this is the reality that people ain't ready to be unplugged, Erica.
No, they're not.
Like even within relationships, because this is the question I have for you. Why do you think, like, even with our close-knit relationships, no one is willing to be unplugged?
You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think a lot of it, like what you just said, though, goes back to accountability and responsibility, right? Because once you're unplugged, your responsibilities change. Because once you know better and you're unplugged, you have to do better because you see the shit.
But the problem becomes no one wants to address it.
Well, of course not.
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
It's too uncomfortable.
And no one wants to be uncomfortable.
No one wants to do it. Look, I've experienced it. And you know what we did. I addressed it. I know what I did. I think I addressed it in the video, but we never released it. But it's this right here. I've experienced it. You know, being the person who spoke the truth.
No, we released that one.
Yeah, spoke.
People love that one.
Spoke the truth. You know what? But I was the one who was criticized. But at the end of it, we still had to deal with the outcome. We still had to deal with the outcome. And what pissed me off and what still pisses me off today is this right here. Is the fact that everybody said, well, I don't remember when that happened. I bet you don't.
It's selective amnesia.
Yeah.
It is. You know, it's a situation where, like, you know, in your heart and your mind, like, yeah, Courtney said that shit. Erica said that shit. But now it's here to smack me in my face. And it goes back to, you know, it being easier to stay numb. You know, it goes back to not taking accountability, not saying, damn, Courtney did tell me that. Courtney did warn me about that. It's easier to blame you for it. Well, you should have said it louder. You
Yeah.
should have told me more often. That's what it becomes.
Yeah. But I think that we should, I don't know what I think we should do with this one sometimes. We just got to get with good people.
Yes, the people you surround yourself with matters.
Yeah, we have to get ourselves with good people, but it's just a clear quality, of like when like I say, when Socrates did that thing, and I still believe that Plato did, what was that? The analogy of the cave was based off of that.
Yes, but I will also tell you this: I fuck with Socrates stuff simply because on the day he was executed, he was still giving them that heat, and he was still talking shit.
Yeah.
He was still talking his shit.
Yeah.
To his last breath, pretty much.
And our constant battle is going to always be those closest to us. And that's the whole point of talking about this right here. People are not really, and our greatest battles are going to always be the person or the people that's closest to us.
Yeah.
We're always going to be battling them. And like even in homes, like when divorces are high, it's because people can't get aligned, and the greatest enemy is the person that's sitting across from you sometimes.
Oh, wait, say that again? Because you just spoke a word.
I said the greatest enemy sometimes is the person that's sitting across from you. The greatest enemy that you can have.
Oh, you preaching tonight, huh?
And the greatest enemy can be have a guy that's sitting next to you, which is your best friend.
Oh, you preaching. Come on with it.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality. And how do you deal with that one? How do you deal with the people that you love ain't meant to be with you?
Cut them the fuck off.
I know, but it becomes difficult.
It does, but you have to.
But that's what you have to do.
You have to.
You have to do it.
Because you're not going to be able to grow if you don't. If you can't grow, you're never going to fucking find peace, right? And if there are people around you who are distracting you and holding you back, they're dead weight. Cut them off. Again, this goes back to what I said at the very beginning, right? What you said, being on the journey of peace is fucking lonely. It's lonely.
Yeah. And that's the part of dealing with this one, right?
It is, and you're lucky to have one person that understands. Now, I'm not saying, oh, don't be their friend ever again. Be completely done with them. No, but while you're looking for your peace, you got to let people go.
And those are the decisions that we have to make that are very difficult to grasp.
They hurt. Yeah. They hurt. Like letting go of those relationships, you go through a grieving process like someone has died. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
It really is. You feel like you're losing, not just a part of you while you're on this journey, but damn, I gotta let go of those who know me the most. Yes, you do. Cut them off. Let them go. Let them go. You'll benefit later.
You can always replace them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It seems like you can't, but you can always replace them. And also, like I said it before, I said it in a previous episode. I just learned how to reprioritize.
Pivot.
Yeah. I just put you, on a lower list of priorities. I mean, that's it. I mean, I run my life like a business. And I prioritize what's important. If you ain't important or just don't help me along on my journey, priority number 10. Out of 10 priorities, you will probably be number 10.
No, you are preaching today. Maybe we need to change your name to Pastor Lewis today.
Hey, I think I'd be better than someone's out there.
Oh my God.
Liars.
Wow.
What? I'm just saying, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, no, people don't want to be unplugged.
No, they don't.
Or they believe that they do, and it's very hard to face the truth or the reality. And the person who always points the truth out is going to always be the one crucified. Not literally, but they will be ostracized and exiled outside of the people that they normally deal with. You don't fit in no more.
So, okay. Speaking of that, right? Do you think that in what you're saying, there is relevance in the saying that peace requires war? Right? Do you believe that? Excuse me. Do you believe that saying, first of all? And secondly, what does that look like?
Yes, peace does require war, and what it looks like depends on the scenario you're in. So you have a specific.
Specific. Okay. So let's say, for instance, right, you have somebody who is becoming a better person, educating themselves, traveling, experiencing shit, exploring, becoming more whole or coming into themselves. What would you say war would look like for someone who was elevating while the people around them are remaining the same?
Well, the number one thing of anything that I would say is always be aware. Awareness is the number one thing that you need to be. You gotta have
awareness is hard though.
Yeah, you got to have a good eye and understand. And I know this might be difficult to say, but be very stoic.
Everybody can't do that though.
Maybe not, but it's nothing wrong with caring, but it may be a little issue with caring too much. And that becomes the issue. So it's being aware, care, but don't care too much, where it derails you if you got to make a separation.
I've been on that end before.
Right, so in these processes of making this, elevating, you need to understand that everybody can't come with you on this journey. And it's better to learn this early on than to learn it when you're 40.
Yeah. No matter when you learn it, it's going to hurt, right? Because, I've been there. You watch me go through it.
Yeah.
I grieved. Like, I literally grieved relationships that I had to cut off. And in doing that, that goes back to that stillness and loneliness we talked about, right? I had to cut people off who I thought would be my friends forever.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, I learned that I bring a ton of value with me. And there aren't very many people that have access to me now.
And so, I
found peace.
Right. Yeah, but in that scenario, that is peace.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
It hurt like hell. That's the purpose of it, right? Of me saying that is it hurt to go through it.
Or one of the most difficult things when finding that type of peace based off what you asked is that is making decisions. You have to be able to make decisions even when they're very difficult.
Yeah.
And so, in that process, you're making those decisions that's very difficult, but you need to get in alignment with your you have to get in alignment with your purpose.
So,
and that right there is what, say for instance, if we are fighting that war, what the peace looks like is getting in alignment with your purpose. And those decisions are difficult because there's a lot of shedding and moving the pieces around to get things in alignment. And moving those things around might be people, might be, hey, this job ain't it.
I need to move. I need to leave this place.
Right. Hey, I need to take this risk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, you know what? I may not be able to do a full-time job to get where I actually need to be. I might need to reduce these hours and focus on this thing. So it's getting in alignment and moving the pieces until you properly get in alignment with your purpose. And that's winning the war and gaining peace in that scenario. So peace looks different depending on the scenario when you're in, and you have to define it.
Right, because it's subjective.
Depending. Say when you go to war, you start shooting goddamn guns. Well, the outcome is the outcome.
Yeah.
Whoever has the most people standing.
Whoever has the most bullets and the most Band-Aids wins.
Yeah, wins. Or the person who didn't give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the outcome.
But
the game goes on.
It does. But, back to what you were saying, I think another part, while yes, alignment is important, I think it's also understand that building peace means you're going to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And in being misunderstood, like I said, when I started cutting people off, I was hated. Like, people talked so bad about me. People who I helped support, like financially, emotionally, offering physical support, when needed. I became a negative topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I can honestly say that it pushed me further into alignment with who I should have been the whole time. I used to think that, these are my people and people love me and I love my people and we're going to stay this way. I had no idea what kind of, for lack of a better word, I can be honest, what kind of asshole lived inside of me until then. And since I found out, my life has been so much more peaceful.
But like, say for instance, like in business, right?
I like business.
Like say for instance, because you're saying misunderstood. Sometimes you just misunderstood.
Yeah.
Business right here. I'm gonna use example Blockbuster for this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna use Blockbuster for this one because the guy who started Blockbuster was a very creative person and tech-driven guy.
He was very tech-driven.
And then businessmen came in, bought up all the stock, and then they ended up running the company, even though he was still working for it. And then they kicked him out, or he left. It was one of them. You know what I'm saying? And what happened is they was running it, the way they wanted to from a business perspective and not that creative perspective. And so the real purpose behind it was really misunderstood on what made it great to begin with. But they lost in the end. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But in the end, they still lost because they was only looking at the money. They weren't thinking about the evolution.
They didn't evolve at all,
They didn't evolve, but it was a war going on.
Yeah.
It was a war going on, and they didn't prepare for it.
Yeah. And then someone who was more of a visionary came on the scene.
Correct.
Tried to merge with them.
Not merge. Hey, buy us out.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, buy us out.
Try to sell to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it was a war going on, and the people who won the war of that, who got the peace in the end, was Netflix.
Yes, I think Netflix is probably in damn near every household in America.
Yeah, it is. You know what I'm saying? But from a business perspective, it was a war going on, and it was a war for peace, and it finally settled when that player was off the map.
Yep.
When it was no longer on the map.
When that chess piece was gone.
When it was gone. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it means, So who was misunderstood in this was the guy who started Blockbuster, because they didn't understand what was making it great to begin with.
They did not. And it's funny you say that, because they didn't understand him. And then when Netflix, they were visionaries and they were creative, just like the Blockbuster guy was, they also didn't understand their point of view and didn't buy them out when asked.
Yeah.
And the next thing we know, we have no more Blockbuster signs.
Right.
There's no more movie store nostalgia.
So the people who end up buying out Blockbuster, they didn't see.
No, they
didn't see the peace that was being fought for. Only thing they saw was dollar signs. That's all they saw, and they got demolished by it. But that's a part of business history. But one of the most important parts of this right here, what happened in history, was World War II. Okay. This was World War II. This was
part of it. World War II was pretty big.
Well, it was Winston Churchill. This was Winston Churchill and Adolf Hitler, because Adolf Hitler was on the rise and Churchill saw it. Mm-hmm. He saw it, and he let his constituents know, like, hey, we need to get ready for it. And they criticized him or joked at him because it was a time of peace. It's not what you think it is, pretty much is what they were saying. I'm paraphrasing right now for the show, but they was pretty much saying, hey, it ain't what you think it is. But Germany was on the rise. And so what ended up happening in this process, Germany was preparing. They got huge, they got large, they got big. And then in that process, you know what happened? Britain was not ready, because they was joking, they was playing. Then Germany got so large and so big that when Germany attacked, matter of fact, it started when they attacked Poland. They attacked Poland or invaded Poland.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit.
We should have listened. Yeah.
And then they attacked London.
Yep.
And now what they had to do was get reinforcements and backup from outside.
From their allies.
From their allies.
Yeah.
Like the United States of America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the problem was, he saw it when nobody else saw it. And that's one of the biggest things with peace. You may see it, but everyone else around you may not see it, because we love our comfort so much. Because that same thing happened in Rwanda with like the movie, like Hotel Rwanda.
Oh, that's so sad.
What happened?
That genocide was terrible.
They were warned.
Yep.
They were warned what was coming. Then it came.
Yep, they didn't listen.
But they didn't listen. Mm-hmm. These are historical issues that things that have actually happened that we should actually pay attention to and take notice what it actually means to get peace. And what happened was they weren't ready. Like in Britain, they weren't ready. Churchill saw what was coming. He wanted to prepare. But the people around him didn't.
You can even add in current times here, because a lot of us told people what the fuck was going to happen if our current administration were to win.
Yeah.
Or to be placed there. We said that shit for 2 years. We were shouting it from rooftops.
Yeah.
No one listened. Right? So now we are living, and I mean, people are going to say, Erica, you can't say that. That's crazy. But we told people what was going to happen. The same way that Churchill warned people about Hitler. Mm-hmm. We did the same thing. We were shouting that shit on social media. There were posts, there were videos, there were podcasts about it, right? So the information was there with facts, just like Churchill, right? And no one listened. And now we're in a state where people are like, well, I didn't know this was going to happen. And that irritates me so bad. So I can only imagine how, me and like Churchill felt or whatever when the bottom fell out the sky. And he was like, but I tried to tell you. Because once Hitler took Poland, it was over.
It was over.
It was over.
But it was...
When Poland fell, Europe was done.
But what was crazy, it was the beginning. And even in the beginning, it was still too late.
Yeah, it was too late. That's what I'm saying.
It was too late. And so I'm sitting here and telling everybody, pay attention to the people that's around you.
Yeah.
Like if you have somebody they got good vision, you may want to listen to them. Mm-hmm. Listen to them. Take heed. Now it's a warning. Sometimes people just got gifts.
It is. And our
sight.
Our friend P, she tell me often, E, be careful who you let around you, because only iron sharpens iron. And I'm like, I never thought about it in that context before. But it's no different, than you telling me, Erica, these people aren't good for you. And I couldn't see it. When I saw it? When the bottom fell out. When the
bottom fell out, but it's what we always deal with, though. And it's one of the things that pisses me off the most. And personally, even in my own life, I get tired of saying what's going to come down the line. But we got to experience the tragedy before we say, oh, this is a bad idea. And now we have people come running, hey, I need your help now. But it's too late.
It's too late.
Because I can't help. Not that I can't help you. I'm not going to.
That's the truth.
I'm not going to at the worst point. Our number one issue is that we don't want to make it easy. We want to do it when it's at its hardest, at its worst, and its most difficult point to actually recover from. That's when we want to do it.
You know what I think part of that is, if I'm being honest? I think that people honestly think it won't get that bad.
Yeah, they do, but my philosophy on that, it's when everybody say, well, it ain't gonna be me. Well, if the majority of people are failing doing that exact thing,
it's gonna be you.
It's going to be you too.
It's not funny, but yeah.
It's going to be you too, because no one actually realizes the few people who do succeed, they have something that you just didn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
and that's the reality.
It is, and again, it goes back to there's no blueprint, because they're different.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna follow in Steve Jobs' footsteps. No, the fuck you ain't.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, the pieces he was lucky. I don't give a shit. He was lucky.
He had, he had the right idea and the right people to execute that shit around him.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was talented with what he was talented with, but those pieces made it lucky.
But if Steve didn't have a Steve, you know what happened?
Uh-huh.
We all wouldn't have iPhones today.
No, we wouldn't.
We wouldn't have iMacs today.
No. We wouldn't know Steve Jobs.
No, we wouldn't.
We wouldn't know him. Not at all. And so what we really have to do is understand that this is difficult. It's a difficult thing to do, to fight for peace only when you see it. It's hard.
Yeah, because then you're fighting, you're coming from behind. and there's not a plethora of people to come and save you, like World War II saved Europe.
Or correct. You don't, especially when you don't have any allies. But this goes back to the previous point that we was making. People ain't ready to be unplugged, and what you end up doing when you see, when only you see this issue, no one else sees it, and when no one else sees it, you end up fighting them to try to get them to see it.
So okay,
and that's very difficult.
So here's my question for you then. You often talk about systems, right?
Yes.
Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And with systems and mindset comes discipline, right? So if somebody said, Courtney, I don't know how to build them, what's it look like?
A system of what exactly? I don't know what you mean. I hear what you're saying, but like a system of...
A system to find peace, like, or alignment within their house. We'll just use relationships, which is easy because you're married.
Well, like I'm saying, this one right here, I believe it can be difficult depending. And just stick with me on this one. When I say difficult depending, because you will never get aligned if you're just naturally with the wrong person.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just something that you have to be aware of. If you can never get in alignment with the person that you're with to get that peace that you know you're going for and you know it's good, if you can't get aligned with the person across from you, then we need to understand that you're just with the wrong person. And you just may need to let it go.
Amen.
You just have to do that. The easiest way to get your peace.
I mean, but sometimes the easiest way is the most efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
Yeah. So say things like that. But in the home, I think, that becomes difficult on how to do that because say for instance, that piece is, like finances. You know what I'm saying? It's communication. It's another individual's ability to listen. You know what I'm saying? To express, it's how you parent. You know what I'm saying? You got to get in one accord on all those things or some type of balance for it to actually work out on those most important things, like sitting down and talking regularly. How do we actually conduct these family meetings or these one-on-ones with one another so we can actually slowly get to the goal, because every goal got to have a goal. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get somewhere. And the whole purpose of it is what we're talking about, to get to that peace. Because if we're not in alignment, we can never get to where we're trying to really head. And matter of fact, we can't even define it if we can't get aligned to actually say this is where we want to go. So it's a lot of things that have to be addressed, like important things within a relationship so we can actually make it happen. Within a relationship. So it's the most important factors that make a relationship work or a marriage work that you have to go for to actually try to make it work. And we have to address those important things, get in alignment with those things, and the path forward will be so much easier. Yeah.
I'll give you that. That was a really, really good explanation. And I think that one was pretty damn straightforward. And the people can't follow it, that they might want to call you. Well,
they can, but one of the things, like say for instance, when we're dealing with scenarios like that, it's they're always difficult because if you can never master yourself, you can never master a relationship. So say for instance, we got two people who are not masters of themselves, you will never get in alignment. Mm-hmm. You can't.
That's where that toxic stuff that people like so much kicks in.
Yeah.
That's just not fun or funny.
Yeah. So people want great relationships, but
they build toxic environments.
Yeah. They want a great relationship, but they ain't even great with themselves. Like we'll go back to the beginning where we talked about the internal battle. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't win the internal battle, you definitely ain't finna win the external one. Mm-hmm. You've already been defeated. You'll never get to whatever goal. Matter of fact, I don't think you can properly set a goal if you never won the internal battle. And then the external battle will be the people around you that you love, going to work every day. That battle. We ain't ready for that one. If you ain't win the one that was inside of you, you ain't ready for the war on the outside yet. And it's only a matter of time. It's inevitable. Loss is inevitable. You'll never get the peace you're seeking. Ever. It'll never happen. And if you do get it, it's going to only be an illusion. It's going to be what you think it is and not what it really is. You know, which is like, it's this right here, because I'm a believer. You prepare for war in times of peace. You don't prepare for war during times of war. You don't do that. And that's where the real battle is won. The real battle that we face is won when we recognize we win war. And we win the war of peace in times of peace, not during war. You know what I'm saying?
That's a unique statement. We win peace during times of peace, not during the war.
Yeah.
I've never quite heard it like that before. But I think even someone like myself, I would have never thought about it like that before.
Well, how about this? I'll slightly rephrase it, because I said exactly how I would normally phrase it is you prepare for war in times of peace. That's what we do. We prepare for war during times of peace. That's what we're supposed to do.
So you use your calm season to sharpen yourself, your skills, if possible, those around you, if you have a family.
Yes, you do. I mean, because that is the real time to prepare. You have to get ready during those times. But there's always been, like I said, there's always historical moments where these things happen, though. You know what I'm saying? And feudal Japan was one of them.
Who?
Feudal Japan. Like in Japan, like in the 1600s, it happened during then. The best way I can describe it, you had two clans during the time. The Toyotomi clan, and then we had the Tokugawa clan. The Tokugawa clan, they were actually the real rulers of Japan because it was united during this time, okay? Japan was united, and although the Tokugawa clan, had the power, as far as ruling, but the Toyotomi clan, what ended up happening is they had a lot of resources. You know what I'm saying? They had power, they had wealth, they had all those things, even though they weren't the real rulers.
Wait, hold on real quick. Are those the people that in Japan that had gunpowder first?
I'm not sure. I can't tell you that. I don't know exactly.
I think that's them. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what happened in that process was, although they weren't the real rulers during that time, but they had a lot of the resources, wealth, influence, and power. But as we were talking about in this episode, it was an illusion. It was an illusion, and the Tokugawa, the Toyotomi clan, what ended up happening is in that process, they were like, "Hey, I don't feel good about this." You know what I'm saying? I don't feel good about this. And what they ended up doing is they prepared for war, because what was going on was an illusion behind the scenes, because it was still like this internal battle going on, like of power and influence that was still going on. And what they did, they prepared. They prepared while the Toyotomi clan was like, you know what? They looked at it like strictly peace. It was peace for them. And they didn't prepare. And so what happened in that process, the other clan, they invaded them and they took over. And they took over because the other clan was never ready. They weren't ready. They got destroyed. And so during this illusion of peace, because all this shit was still brewing behind the scenes, that's what happened. And they lost. They lost to the person who prepared during the times of peace. And so he took advantage of the times of peace. That's what he did. He took advantage of the times of peace, and he won the overall war. While the other side was like, they thought it was all good. They was like, hey, this is peace. Although it was illusion, they didn't see it.
To dumb it down a little bit, you know what that sounds like to me?
What?
Just my brain processing. The ants and the grasshoppers.
Yeah, it's similar.
It sounds like a very, very similar story.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but it happened and they lost. They lost tremendously. You know what I'm saying? But that's part of it. We prepare for war in times of peace. That's what we're supposed to do. But it's one of those things that we never do, you know, because we always have to realize what ends up happening is that peace is never going to always be steady. It's never going to always be there. There's always going to be some shifts that happen that makes it out of reach, or where you got to, you know, realign things again to get it back. It can be good for 10, 15 years, but eventually
It's going to fail.
It's going to fail.
Yeah.
Something is going to happen if you don't keep your eye on what's happening or what's going on. It's going to break down.
So is it fair to say that peace is fleeting?
Yes, it is, just like motivation. Just
and
like
happiness.
And happiness. It's fleeting. It is. You know, and we think that, you know, once you get it, it's going to be there forever. It's not. That's not how it happens, because now, like, say for instance, like you and I, like husband and wife, you know what? You know, we might have peace, but say for instance, the moment you change, I don't realize it and you don't communicate it with me, we start to slowly get
misaligned.
We slowly start getting misaligned. And if we never do it, you know, it can get so far out of line where we start to get out of touch, and now we have a real issue. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And we never keep our eye on what's really going on or what's happening during this transition.
You know, I think it's a unique perspective that you've given people on peace, because again, I'll say that I don't think that enough people think about peace, or enough people understand how important peace is. I think peace is also very misunderstood, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times, you know, you've said it, but to sum it up, we sit here and we think that, as you said, peace will be here forever and it will last. And then the bottom falls out or the storm hits, you know, kind of like we can use Katrina. Folks thought shit was good.
They did.
People thought things were great. And then one levee broke. And then 2 levees broke. 3 levees broke. And the next thing you know, you got fucking water to roofs.
Yes.
Rooftops.
Yes.
You know, you got people who are only safe on the freaking I-10 bridge. You know what I mean? Like overlooking you're higher than the Superdome at this point, because you had to be, because the water's that damn high. And you don't have peace. And once it's that far gone and it's completely destroyed, a lot of people can't get it back.
No.
That alignment is gone forever.
And, you know, you may not, or it just takes a very long time to get it back.
But like I said, if they do.
Yeah.
Because once it goes that far, Courtney, I don't think they're going to get it back. I really don't.
Yeah. And it just goes to, you know, you have to prepare. You know, and if we translate this over into the home, you know what, you know, it's our, you know, and it's okay to make the sacrifices that you need to make. Don't get so wrapped up in your comforts. Don't do that. You know, none of us right now are just super duper rich. And the number one thing you can do is always position yourself to prepare for what's coming, because we don't know what's coming. And we have to prepare ourselves way more than most people that will ever be wealthy. You know what I'm saying? And what you have to do is, say for instance, get aligned, like inside that home. Get aligned with the people that's there with you, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever the hell you are. You know, fiancés, with your kids, whatever. Get aligned so you can always prepare during that times of peace, because what we believe is that during times of peace, what you end up having to do is, you know, that's the time to lay your head down. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, just like the Toyotomi clan did. You know what I'm saying? Just like they did. Mm-hmm. And I know I was probably mispronouncing some of those, but we'll be okay for this episode. I'm serious. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to be just like them if we don't get our shit together. But we have to prepare. But it's a saying in like for samurais that they had. I'm hopefully that I can remember it properly. But it's like they said they'd rather sweat in peace than to bleed in war.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? That was the quote right there. I'd rather sweat in peace than to bleed in war.
Yeah.
So that means, like, on a home basis, get your shit aligned so y'all can prepare in peace and not lay your head on pillows and think it's all good. And then when the storm comes, now you're not ready for it.
Okay. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Because our people love when you give them a good challenge, right?
Okay.
They appreciate your challenges. And we'll post the same challenge on TikTok so you guys can talk about it. But if you had to give them homework or something to focus on, right, what would you challenge them to do?
Oh, wait, that's a good one.
I know.
Yeah. So you just asking me to come off the dome with that one?
I mean, you normally do, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I'll give it a go.
Okay, let's see what you got.
All right. I say peace isn't passive.
Okay.
Now, peace isn't passive, so it's for earners, protected in practice. So ask yourself, what are you doing now to stay ready so you don't have to get ready? That's the challenge.
Peace isn't passive.
Yes. Peace isn't passive. So the challenge is this right here. Ask yourself, what are you doing now to stay ready so you don't have to get ready? What are you doing? And so what you're really doing is just answering the question to see how ready you are. Because everything we do is always about the future.
That's a good question. You got me sitting here pondering. And I live with you, and we talk about this.
Yeah, so that's what it comes down to. Everything we do is getting ready for the future. We're only preparing ourselves for our future self. We're preparing to become our future self. So what are we doing to make that person come into fruition? What are we doing?
To usher them in a little bit easier.
Yeah. What are we doing?
A little more gently. So they don't got to fight their way through.
Yeah. And not even just this, but even just, like we just said, prepare. Just prepare. What are you doing to prepare to become the person that you want to be? That's a challenge to see. What are you doing?
I can't wait to hear their feedback. I'm excited.
Well, we'll find out now, won't we?
Yes.
And I apologize for any mispronounced words of that.
We don't speak Japanese, but we try.
Yeah.
It's never meant to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
So if we said it wrong, please feel free, drop a comment and correct us.
Yeah.
We'll say it right next time, I promise.
Yeah. Yeah. But I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you get the understanding of the stories. All right. So everyone, again, thanks for listening to the Students of Life podcast. And you can find us on all platforms, again, Apple, Spotify, Audible.
iHeartRadio.
And find us on TikTok as well, okay?
We have fun on TikTok.
Yeah, we do, and we're there. So this has been the Students of Life podcast, everyone. Live and learn. Life is a lesson.
Growth is hard, especially when you're doing it alone. That's why we created the Students of Life Inner Circle. It's not just a Facebook group. It's a community of people who believe in execution over excuses. Inside, we share exclusive content, behind-the-scene drops, weekly challenges, and real conversation about leveling up your life. If you're tired of surface-level advice and want to grow alongside people who are actually doing the work, this is your space. Request access using the link in the show notes. We'll see you inside.